start things off, so, what year were you born, Lester?
January 24th, 1928,
Okay. And where were you born?
Montgomery County,
Okay.
south of Ullman, Illinois.
Is that in Illinois? Yeah.
3 miles south of Ullman, Illinois,
Oh.
Montgomery County.
Okay. Okay. And where were you raised?
And pardon?
Were you raised there as well?
Same house till I was left home at 13 for a while and went to work by the month for a couple that needed somebody to feed cattle and hogs and chickens and stuff. And I worked there till I started high school. Then I started high school when I was 13. And the first year after I got out of high school, the first summer, I went to work for Glenn Tester on a hay baler. And I worked on his hay baler for a year. And then when I went back to school next fall, I was old enough that I was able to go. I thought I could get on the railroad, so I went down to the railroad. I saw a group working on the railroad. I went up and asked who the boss was, and he said, "I'm the boss." I said, "I'm looking for a job." He said, "Well, you have to be 17 to work here." And he said, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 17. When was you born?" I said, "January 24th, 1926. Okay, go over there to timekeeper and give him your Social Security. I said, "I don't have a Social Security number." I said, "I've worked on the farm all the time." He said, "He'll get you one ordered." Okay, so they got me signed up, and 2 years later I was working on a railroad.
Wow.
Then when I went back to school that fall, I told the principal, I said, what I'd like to do, I'd like to work on a railroad Monday or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. That'd be 4 days a week I'd work on a railroad. I'll go to school Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Can I do that? He said, well, we've never had anybody do that, but if you can maintain a C average or above, we'll let you do it. If it gets below that, you're out. Okay.
What school was that, Lester?
So I maintained a C average at least.
What school?
What school?
What school?
Roseman High School.
Roseman High School? Okay.
And I worked on a railroad for next 3 years and went to school.
Okay.
In 1945, the war was over, and the boss came to me and he said, "Pot gut." That's what he called me. That was his nickname for me. I was
Pop gut?
Pot gut.
Pot gut?
I was about 6'2" or 3" and weighed 150 pounds, 140 maybe. So I was popped this way instead of out this way. Anyway, that's what he called me. And he said, we're starting to lay off. And he said, if you could find another job, you better do it because everybody be looking for work. And I said, I already got somebody wanting to hire me. He said, if you do, you better take it. So I went to work for Litchfield Creamery Company working. Mm-hmm. I said, I only had to go to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, got off 4 in the afternoon. Only had to work 7 days a week.
Wow.
And
life was good.
I said, and I made $75 a month in my room and board. So I saved $60 a month.
Wow.
Because I didn't have couldn't spend anything, just a little toothbrush and a paste, and maybe went to a movie once in a while. So I worked there for I started in about April or May, and I worked there till the following January. And my brother and I were always real close, and he just got out of the Marine Corps. And he called me and he said, have you got any money? And I said, well, yeah. I saved money while I was going to high school, about $400 in the bank, and then I've saved $600 here at the last year down here, so I got $1,000 in the bank. And I got an old car that a guy offered me $400 for. I said I could sell it. I could come up with $1,400. What are we going to do? He said, well, we're going to buy a restaurant.
Right here in Nokomis.
So I said, okay. So he said, I've been working in a restaurant for our uncle. He's going to move to Albuquerque, and he wants to get rid of the restaurant, so he'll sell it to us. We pay $1,000 down, and we'll keep the other $400 to do business with. He said, I don't have any money, but I got an old 40 Chevrolet that I bought when I come back, so we can both use that. said, okay. So I came back and we started in the restaurant business, and my mother was working at the greenhouse in Pana, so we got a hold of her and got her to be our cook, because she's the best there was.
Can I interrupt you a minute? You didn't tell him about taking your mother to work while you were.
Oh, while I was in high school, I took her to Pana. She worked in the greenhouses at Pana. I'd take her to work, then I'd come back to Roseman, go to high school.
My goodness.
Then at night, when I got off at 3:30 noon, she didn't get off till 6, so I had from 3:30 noon till 6, so I'd have to go back to Pana and wait till she got off work. Then we'd go home together.
Do you
Your
remember?
mother's name, Lester?
Yeah,
What's your
what-
mother's name?
Ruth,
Ruth.
Okay. What was the name of the greenhouse? Do you remember the name of the greenhouse? by any
no,
chance?
City of Roses, Pana City of Roses, what they called it.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't know if that had
You
a,
didn't tell him about when you went to get your Social Security card.
oh, that'll be later.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
That's
would
why
you-
you. Oh,
No,
before
when
you.
you, not when I went to get my Social Security.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, I went to Pana, took her to work, then I come back to Roseman, and we done that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then on the other 2 days, we'd take her to work, and then I went to work at 6 on the railroad, and so she didn't have to go to work till 7, but she'd go with me, and then she'd have an hour, then in the morning, then she'd have to wait for me in the evening because I didn't get off. We worked 12 hours or 10 hours a day and 2 hours traveling, so I worked 6 in the morning, 6 at night, so she had to wait for me till I got in, and we'd go home.
Lester, what kind of work on the railroad as a youngster?
Oh, it was
Tell
just
Michael this.
all manual
yeah.
labor, pick tamping. You tamped all the ties with picks.
Oh,
You know, now they got these
Yeah.
machines.
They're automated. Yeah.
We replaced all the ties. We'd pull the ties out,
Oh.
take a fork, take the rock and shake all the dirt out of it and pile it out here, then put our ties back in, take the clean rock and throw it back in there, and then tamp the ties up against the rail, take spikes and spike the
Oh, my goodness.
ties.
And you had to do a certain number in an hour, Lester?
We had to do 10 apiece a day.
10 apiece.
Wow.
We had to put in 10 ties a day apiece. So I got an old guy that was some relation to me. His name was same as my last name. And he said, young feller, I'll just take you as a partner. I said, okay, I'll show you what to do. So when we get ready in the morning, the boss would have them marked. Maybe they'd be 4 ties here and 2 and 2 and then 4, 6. So he'd walk along and he'd find a place where there was 5 or 6 ties. We'd take the rock and clean it, throw it over into the one we just took out. We didn't have to double it
Oh, wow.
out in.
Yeah. Yeah. So you.
So we could get
more-
6 or 8 ties in
efficient.
just a little bit.
Heavy
Right.
duty
Because it was
work.
all in a
That is
row.
heavy. How old were you when you were doing this?
I was 15 actually.
Yeah.
I said I was 17, but it was
Why? Yeah. That's
I was
okay.
15. When I got ready to leave, he said, "Pop, how old are you now?" I said, "I'm 17."
You didn't give
He
up.
said, "When was you 17?" I said, "January," and this was in May. He said, "Well, I knew when you come to work you wasn't 17." But he made me head tamper, a lead tamper on the group. We had electric tampers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Later on, at first we just pick tamped everything.
Yeah.
Later on, we come up the air tampers, and then we replaced the air tampers with electric tampers. They had a blade about that wide. Did you?
Yeah.
So he made me lead tamper. So that meant they had to keep up with me.
Right. Oh, so put pressure on you too.
Well, but he said, "You're good and you're fast, and I want you to be my lead tamper." So
And
that's what I was.
And the dairy work. Tell Mike about the dairy, what you had to do in the dairy.
Well, let's.
bring.
Your first.
What's the
job.
name? Well, let's start. What was the name of the railroad that you worked for?
New York Central.
That's good. I like that from a historic perspective. I like to get the
New
names
York
of the.
Central. They called it the Big Four.
Okay.
New York Central.
New York Central.
Railroad,
All right.
yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. Now go
Anyway.
back. Yeah.
Where was we at?
The dairy, the kind of work you
Your
did.
first job.
On the railroad. Yeah, that's
No.
pick tamping.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the on the farm, the first job on the farm when you
On
were
the,
13.
I told him about that.
Well, you
but-
didn't tell what happened, what you had to do. That's what he's getting to. The
Exactly.
cleaning out the barn.
Oh, that was another one. I went to work for that couple. it was an old couple that needed somebody to work for them. I went to work for them when I was 13. Then the following year, when I was 14, I went down there to another farmer that was close there, and so he hired me by the day, and I got $3 a day, which is big money
Back
then.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said the first job will be to clean that barn out there. Well, I went out there and looked, and that barn hadn't been cleaned out for 20 years.
Oh my.
The cattle were walking in, the manure was so deep they was hitting their heads on the rafters when they walked in.
Imagine.
No manure
That's a great
spreader,
visual. Yeah, no manure
no
spreader.
manure spreader, flat bed wagon, hay frame. I pitched on 15 loads of hay manure every day for 30 days.
Holy shit.
Holy shit.
15 loads a day
I
for
can
30
smell it. I
days.
can smell it now.
And I got that all done and cleaned her out and put all nice straw down the bottom, and boy, he come in and looked at it and said, that sure is pretty.
Oh,
And
days.
then I started plowing and
yeah.
everything, and we got the crops in and put beans in about the first, it was almost 1st of June, I guess. And he laid me off then. That's when I went to run the hay baler. Got a job running hay baler for Glenn Tester, and I run hay baler. And then later on in the fall, I went with him with the combine. At that time, you had to have a guy ride on the combine and raise and lower the thing. That engine was on the combine, and the tractor hydraulic run the
Okay.
combine, run the
Right,
combine.
right.
So you had to have a man on the combine and one on the tractor. So he had me hired to do on the combine. He had to raise and lower the head and stuff. So then that's when I left there, and when I worked that 1 year, and then I wasn't making a lot of money there. So I went on the railroad. I made big money there, 55.5 cents an hour.
Well, that probably was big money though. Yeah.
And I worked Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we got paid every 2 weeks. I got about $40-some check. That was a lot of money then.
And you made money at the typewriter.
Well, that was up while I went back to school in the mornings. I'd take my mother to work in the Roses.
Go to school.
I'd
take your
come
notes.
back to high school and I'd talk to the typing teacher, business teacher. I said, I'm here an hour and a half in the morning and I don't have anything to do. I said, I can't work on the other studies, but I could work on my typing if I had a key to your door. So she said, I'll see if I can do that. So she got me a key to the door. So I'd go into the typing room in the morning. So by Christmas, I had all my budgets turned in, flawless, no mistakes at all. They got a name. But I didn't have anything to do then. I got run out of bed. I didn't have anything to do. I didn't have no budgets that type. I was finished for the year, so I got to talking to the guys, and I'd get 50 cents a budget for typing their budgets up. So I was typing up maybe 1 or 2 budgets a morning. I was making about $1 a day.
Wow, in your spare hour.
And
Wow.
so then the next time the grades come out, my grade, she give me a B. And I said, well, Miss Howell, how come I got a B? I said, all my budgets are turned in. You only require 30 words a minute for an A, and I'm almost 60. She said, well, Lester, when you do work for other people, you got to share your grade with other people. She said, your typewriter on the E doesn't close up on top. And you're the only one in here that has that typewriter that don't close the E on top. And I noticed it's been showing up in other people's work.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So she said, if you're going to work for other people, you got to share your grade with those people.
Isn't that great?
Wow.
So I quit that.
Yeah, but that was.
Fix that E.
She said, what you should have done, you should have used their typewriter if you're smart.
I like her. That's you know what? They're very creative.
Wow.
What? Now you used the word budget. What the budget meaning is that
Yeah, well,
assignments?
There was so many, yeah, it was
Assignments.
each month there was or each week there was an assignment.
There we go. Okay.
You had to
Make-
write so many
Yeah.
letters to people.
Yeah.
They told you the setup, and
Okay.
you had to set it up and the heading and put
Yeah.
the headings on.
Okay,
and
okay.
everything. And then there was different things in that budget. It usually consisted of something about maybe 40 pages when you got done with it.
Okay. Okay. And so
And
wow.
it had all different kinds of business letters and stuff.
Yeah.
Tell him when you first went to school, when you went into the school and you went in the bad boys' bathroom.
I'd lived on a farm, and we had little 10 acres. We lived on my grandmother. She owned it. We lived in a little house that was 4 rooms. And it's set up and it didn't have any concrete foundation. They'd cut stumps and dug in the ground and set the house on them stumps. And it set up about that high off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
In the wintertime, the wind would blow under there, and the linoleums on the floor would go like this, because they'd made out old green lumber, and there was cracks that wide in the floor.
Yeah.
And we had an old heating stove, and it was 12 by 12 rooms. The heating stove was set in one corner, and it'd be red hot. And in the other corner, where the moisture run down the wall, it'd be icicles, 12 foot away. That's how cold it was in that house.
Oh, man.
It froze ice in my bedroom so solid that it busted the bottom of a bucket.
That was your pee bucket.
No, not a pee bucket. You went outside to pee.
Wow.
This
But-
was a drinking.
Oh, drinking.
That's a
Drinking
really
something.
important story. That kids need to realize that.
Yeah.
Back then it was cold.
We had 4 of us, and sometimes 5, and 4 of us in bed, not 5. We never did have 5. 4 in bed all the time. We slept on either straw tick. Well, you know what a straw tick is, but it's made out of ticking, and then it's stuffed with straw.
Okay.
And that makes you a mattress.
Okay.
That's what
Very
you slept
warm.
on.
I've slept
And
on
then
them.
later on, we got feather beds where we had duck down.
Yeah, oh,
and
yeah,
stuffed with
yeah.
duck down.
They were warm till the straw stuck in. Remember,
Oh,
fresh
wow.
straw, there'd be straw
They're
sticking up
picking
like
at you?
that.
Oh,
You'd lay
yeah.
on one, wow.
You know how you get down off of an elephant?
No.
You don't get down off an elephant, you get off a duck or goose.
And then you went to school and there was a bathroom.
Oh,
Yeah, you
when-
had a bathroom, yeah.
Well, I lived in the farm, no electricity, lanterns all we ever saw, to go to the barn with her and carry a lantern all the time. So I went there, I went into the latrine, I pushed that switch up and all them lights would come on. I'd push it down, it'd all go out. I thought, wow, how does it do that?
Oh my God. Wow.
Of course, I'm like, say, 13 years old, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah.
When you went to Murray, his brother went into the Marines. Share just a little bit about Murray.
Yeah, well, Murray went in, he was, like I say, he went in Marine Corps in 41. So he's 41, 42, 43, 44, and they got out in 45. And then we started the restaurant business. And then we run the restaurant business for that first year, and we noticed there was a guy in Hillsborough come up and wanted to know if he could start a taxi business from our restaurant and have our headquarters there and answer the phone for him.
Mm-hmm.
We said, yeah, we can handle it. I'll give you so much a month. So he did. Well, he stayed about 2 months and business wasn't too good, so he had another one in Hillsborough. So he said, I'm going to quit, fellas. I'm going to go back to Hillsborough. So we said, well, we'll just take that over then. So we got a taxi license for that old 40 Chevy that my brother had. And we started a taxi business. And that thing grew. We had so much business in that taxi business after about 3 years. Sometimes I would get in there in the car on Friday night and wouldn't get out till Sunday morning.
Oh my goodness.
All day, Saturday night, and Friday night, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Just never go to bed.
And where was this restaurant?
Right here in Nokomis.
And you were that busy? Wow.
Well, there was no cars after the war.
Oh,
Nobody had tires
That's
for the cars that
important to
were.
know.
They had them jacked up in the
exactly. The tires were so
in the
bad.
barn
Right.
someplace.
Wow.
The transportation, the only way you had to go, you know.
So that was a valuable service too. They
You went,
needed
how
you.
far
We
did
done-
you go on your, how far, did you to Texas? Did you take somebody
Oh,
to
we did one time later. Took a woman to Texas, but a lot of trips to St. Louis and Springfield and places
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, the bigger cities. Yeah.
But we run that. We started that in '46 and '47. Then in '48, the school decided they wanted to have a school bus. So they said, well, you guys are in the transportation business. You ought to buy a bus, start a bus business. So we said, okay. So we bought an old bus. We started that the first year. Well, it wasn't consolidated then. So we had a contract with the high school here in Nokomis, and we had a contract with the grade schools in the country.
Oh my.
And we picked up all around.
So you drove
Did
the
you?
bus? How many buses?
So we wound up, every year we'd buy a few more buses. We wound up with 12 buses.
So you becoming the bus service
Yeah.
of town. Wow.
Yeah, and then we had some couple charter buses that we used on Sunday, went to different things, like I said, the ice capades, ball games, stuff.
Okay.
Well, then we
That was your bus
started
service.
a
Okay.
regular route to Springfield to
Yeah.
Alice Chalmers was hiring a lot of people. So we went up to Alice Chalmers and we met people, the personnel in there, told them that what we want to do, start a bus and bring some workers up there.
That's a great idea.
If they'd help us up to get enough people hired from Nokomis so we could have a bus, we'd run 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So we started it, and we got her filled up on every shift. And I drove that one. We got one new bus in, I think it was 1956, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Ohio to pick it up. It's funny. I went to Ohio to pick it up. And when I got there, I figured, well, I'm picking it up. I was doing business with a place out of St. Louis, where the dealer was.
Okay.
So I bought it through the dealer in St. Louis. So I thought, well, I'll have to pay the dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went out to Ohio to pick up the bus, and when I got ready to leave the factory, I had to have a check for the bus. Well, I probably had maybe a couple $1,000 in the bank,
Mm-hmm.
and the bus was a little over $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, that was a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
In fact, that was the most the bank would loan to any one person was $10,000.
Okay.
And so I said, okay. So I wrote him a check for $10,000.
You did.
No money in the bank.
Oh my
I drove the bus home, and the next day I went over to the bank, the president of the bank. I said, I got to have a loan. I said, I told him what happened. He said, oh my God, he said, we got a loan limit. 10,000 is the limit. And I don't know if you can get a loan for $10,000. No, and he just kept preaching back and forth, back and forth. And I can't come up with his name right now. But anyway, I said, I got to get a loan today. This check's coming in. I got to have a loan today.
Yeah.
I said, are you going to give it to me? If not, I'm headed to WIT to see if I can get it down there. I've got to get it today. I'm going to give you the loan. He said, hell, you're good. You pay off your loan. He said, you boys know how it works. We're going to give you the loan. And I said, well, give it to me then. I got work to do.
You know where WIT is?
No, I don't.
Tell them about the little town
Well,
of
there's
WIT.
probably 400 people down there, but they got one of the best banks in this part of the
Just
country.
down the road.
Is it? Okay, I think I've seen the sign before.
Yeah.
How
Yeah,
big
yeah.
is it? About 500?
The people, 400 or 500 people,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the bank does a tremendous farm business.
That's-
And a lot of big loans, and they'll loan
Okay.
you. The WIT bank would loan you money when nobody else would.
Oh, I see. So
Most
the,
of
this bank knew that would
And I
happen.
knew that.
Right,
I
right,
didn't want to go out of town if I didn't have to.
right.
But
So what was what was the name of? Did you have a different company for your bus service?
it was Coling and Bruns Bus Service.
way.
My half brother was Murray Coling,
Okay.
Coling.
Okay.
And so we called it Coling and Bruns Bus Service.
Okay.
And then our restaurant was called Two Brothers Cafe.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
It was a school bus service, right?
Yeah, and then the school bus
And that
was
was the-
Coling and Bruns School Bus.
That was- okay.
In fact, still
He
got
drove
some.
school.
I got. I'll take you down to the basement and show you some signs and things.
I'd love to see a picture. It'd be great to have a picture of any of your buses.
Anyway, where we at now? We're in.
Your bus, after the school buses, you went to the.
Well, now, we run those school buses and we run the charter bus. I was going to say that new bus that I brought back.
Yeah.
I finally got the loan, got that paid.
That is too funny.
Got the money to back the check up. And I said, well, this new bus, they told me how to drive it to get it broke in and stuff. So I said, well, I'll drive it myself. So I drove 3 shifts a day to Springfield and back. I drove it 88,000 miles
Oh my
that
goodness.
first year, not less than a year, and then I turned it over to them. And I noticed one of the guys said to me, he said, boy, that guy you got driving having a hell of a time shifting. I thought this was automatic when you drove it. I never did hear you shift.
Oh,
I said, well, you got to know how to do it.
yeah.
I said, I've drove milk trucks and stuff. I know how to double clutch and get her in there without grinding the gears.
Yeah.
So also decide what you went to work up there.
Well, yeah, I was driving that shift I lost my driver on the 4 o'clock to 12 shift. So I was going up at 2 o'clock, take the 4 o'clock shift up, then I'd bring the day shift. I'd go up at midnight, but in the afternoon. I'd go in the afternoon to get the 4 o'clock shift to work. Then the 4 o'clock shift, day shift, would get off. I'd bring them back home. Then I had to go up at midnight to pick those guys up that I took up there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and bring them home. So I thought, well, while I was there, I said, hell, I might as well work a shift while I'm up there. So I went in personnel and told him I'd like to have a job. And I interviewed with the guy, and he said, you had me fill out my thing. I had filled it out ahead of time. And he said, is this your writing that you fill out this here form yourself? And I said, well, sure. Okay, I just asked. Said a lot of people had somebody else fill them out.
Right.
And my writing, not the best in the world, but
That's very neat.
He must leave it in place.
scribble. But
It's very rare too.
Polymer method,
Yeah.
and I was a pretty decent writer, and I guess that's what he noticed. Anyway, he made me a timekeeper. So I worked as a timekeeper for a year up there till I finally got a driver, and then I quit.
What was the name of the company you were at the time?
Alice Chalmers.
That was Alice Chalmers you were going
I
to all
worked
the
there
time.
for a year during that
Oh
time.
my gosh.
Then I went to, in 52, I got a call to go to the service. I got drafted in World War I.
Yeah.
Went up to St. Louis and took my examination and everything and got sworn in. And I went back home and they said, you'll get a call in a couple of days. Well, I got my call and it told me to be in Hillsborough at 12:05 on a certain date. Well, on that date, they called me and said, your orders are for 12:05, 5 minutes after midnight. All calls have been canceled as of midnight tonight. So you don't have to show up. So I missed it.
You met.
Then that was in 46. Then in 52, they got me in the Korean War then.
I see.
That way I served 2 years in the Korean War. Well, when I got back, I thought, well, now I could get a little money through the service by having a farm. If I was on a farm,
I've heard about that.
yeah, they'd back me up on that. So
Right.
I found a farm that was for sale, 120 acres
Wow.
for $12,000. And I thought, so I asked my brother, I thought, what do you think about it? We'll be farmers. We got a little time
You got
next
plenty
year.
of time on your hands.
So anyway,
Plus, did
We-
you have the restaurant then?
yeah, we had the restaurant
Yes.
and the buses and we had the farm. So
So
we got that farm and we started farming. We built a lake on it and we put grassways in and the railroad was taking a lot of ties out because they was going to one track through here.
yeah.
So I had all the railroad ties I wanted, so I hauled a load of railroad ties out every morning when I go out to feed we had a bunch of heifers and I had 200 head of hogs.
200
And
hogs.
So I'd go out in the morning now, I'd get back from Springfield on that bus at 1:30 in the morning, go to bed, sleep to 4:30. Then I'd go to the farm and I'd get a load of feed and stuff, grind it, take it back out to the farm, feed the hogs, feed all the feeders all up with ground corn and stuff, take care of the cattle, water them. Then I'd get back in town by 11 o'clock to work in a restaurant, and I'd work through the restaurant from 11 to 1 or 1:30. Then I'd go down and get the bus ready to leave at 2:30 to go back to Springfield for that midnight shift, and then I'd go to work, and I'd work up there. I did that for a year until I got somebody to drive the bus, and I quit that, so I didn't have to do that. But then I was substitute rural mail carrier too. The guy in town needed a substitute, and I knew him, and I said, well, I could probably handle that. So for 13 years, I was a substitute rural mail carrier.
Oh my goodness.
So every time the road was oiled or there was snow was deep or anything like that, I got to run the mail around.
What did you do in the service, Lester?
I was in the medics.
Okay.
I got a call going to FECOM, Far East Command. I think it was going to Korea. So they took me to Camp Drake in Tokyo.
Okay.
And I sat there for about 2 weeks, just exercising and stuff. You know, they kept me busy all the time. So one morning they called us all out. And I figured, well, we'd already had all our impregnated clothing, rifles and everything. And so we were just sitting there waiting to go to Korea, and then they called out about 50 names that morning. He said, those guys whose names have been called out, turn your equipment all back in at supply, you're staying in Japan. So I turned my equipment back in, and that afternoon we headed for the southern Kyushu Island on a train. I went down there and I worked at the 141st General Hospital right on the ocean that the Japanese had used during the war. Right across from Busan, Korea. Like Busan, Korea was here, and just 100 miles across this peninsula was where our hospital was.
Okay.
So we had an airport there, and had a 183rd Air Force route was there. And so they had an airport there, and they flew in those people that got hit in Korea, the ones that were able to come on in there, and they'd go to a MASH, patch them up, and then send them right on over to us.
So it was
unload them off the planes and bring them to the hospital. But I worked when I got over there, they interviewed a bunch of us, and he said, Bruns, I see you got some typing on your records. I said, yes, sir, in high school, but I haven't done it for 4 or 5 years. Well, you come with me. So I took me down, set me down a typewriter, and give me a piece of paper, and I started typing. I went about half a page. He said, you'll do, report here tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock. So I worked in the Office of Surgical Service with all lieutenant colonel, a major, a captain, and one master sergeant that was in charge of supply. That was our group in that office.
Really?
So
also that movie MASH was made from that, wasn't it? That company.
And the lieutenant, the colonel, he brought his wife over there after a while, and so they had a home there, and so he got pretty good friend with me, and not friendly friend, but I mean,
you got to be careful
as much as you can over officers.
Dashingly handsome guy.
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, he said, Bruns, what do you do in the evening? I said, well, not much of it. I come up at the office. I said, type letters and stuff for home and things like that.
So general office work you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said, how would you like to babysit with our son? We got a opera we're going to, and we don't want to get the Japanese girls. We'd like to have some, maybe we talked about it. I think you'd make us a good guy. You come out the house, and he said, the refrigerator's there. You could eat anything you want out of the refrigerator, steaks, whatever. Just give Donnie his bath and take care of him and put him to bed. And I said, okay, I'll try that. So we did. We got along fine. A couple of weeks or 3 went by, and he had me 2 or 3 times at the house. Finally, one night he brought us in. He said, I'm going to leave the keys with you, Bruns. Corporal, he called me Corporal Bruns. I'm going to leave the keys with you for the car. Donnie likes to go down to the PX and have ice cream. And he said, you can take him down to PX and have ice cream. I said, okay. Only thing I got no driver's license to drive over here.
Right.
He said, don't worry about it. As long as you stay on base, I'll take care of you. You don't have to worry about any problem. Now, this is when I was over. She keeps that picture.
I swiped it and I think my purse.
Oh, that is a great picture.
Young kid, wasn't he?
That's a young kid, all right.
Anyway.
And can I get a copy of that? See, I'd love to have a couple
have to ask
pictures.
him.
Yeah.
Can he get a copy
I got
of
the
that?
car and we
Or
took
you-
Donnie down to PX and I went down to my company area, drove all through the company area. Guys would salute me like
He's got a better picture of in his uniform, haven't you, Lester?
Huh?
You've got a better picture in your uniform that he could use, haven't you? than
I
his?
don't know if I have or not. I don't have any pictures.
We'll see.
Let's see. We'll worry about the
Yeah.
pictures later,
Yeah,
but that's
Old
okay.
pictures like that.
Well, the ladies would
that-
like that. That would be we'll blow that one up.
No, they've been like that ever since I met him.
I've been rolled up ever since you met me.
Yeah.
So you drove this youngster to the PX then?
Yeah, so I drove him down to PX. We got our ice cream. And I drove down through my company area, then past the barracks and stuff, and some of the guys is out there and they see the colonel's car coming. Then they see me driving.
Oh my God! Wow.
I had a good time. You never knew. We was on call to go to Korea at any time.
Okay.
We kept our clothes packed because if they needed somebody over there, well, they would have just flew us over there and we'd have been over there. But so
Right.
we never knew when we might go there. But
Right.
I was in direct support of the troops. So I got a Korean campaign ribbon
Okay.
on my service, but I never set foot in Korea.
Wow.
But I got a Korean campaign ribbon because I was in direct support of
Yeah.
the troops.
So
I was 100 miles from the front lines. Really.
You supported the MASH units. The MASH units were in Korea,
Yeah.
and you supported the MASH units.
Yes,
Is that-
and then they had hospitals there too.
right.
Most of them, when they come to us, we kept them for a short time, and then I typed up all the medical records.
Yeah.
The doctors would come in to me, and they'd sit down and tell me what they did, what suture, and blah, blah, blah. They'd talk to me, and I'd type it while they was talking.
Wow.
And then I'd make a report of that and take that down to the office, to the anyway, where they kept the records office, but I
okay.
forget what they called it, they had a name for it.
After Korea,
But
Lester.
they kept them there and put them with the
Administrative
person
office.
when they took
Sure.
them like when they went back to the States.
Oh,
They either
I-
went, from there, they either went back to the States or they went to Germany.
Okay.
If they thought there was a chance of getting them back on the line, they went to Germany.
Oh, I see.
If they knew they was going to come back, they sent them to the States.
Wow.
And
When you
that's
came-
where the movie MASH was made from that. Right, movie MASH.
Yeah.
Remember the
Well,
yeah.
from Korea,
Yeah.
from the
That was
I'm
yeah.
sorry, I
Korea.
didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
that's
you.
okay.
yeah.
And
Very-
Lester, I know time is short, but
Yes. Yeah.
tell us about the clothing store that you,
Oh, then after
the restaurant. They had the restaurant.
Okay.
After
So you returned home.
1960,
1960. Okay.
in 1960, I was over at the clothing store buying me a jacket. I was greasing buses and working on. I was mechanic for our buses. So I said, George, looks like the school's going to buy their own buses, so we're going to lose our bus business. I said, I got to have another business. He said, I'll sell you this clothing store. I said, I don't know anything about running a clothing store. He said, I think you can do it. He said, I'll stay with you for 6 months and show you how to buy and stuff. So I went back, I asked my brother, I said, George Moeller wants to sell us his clothing store. What do you think? He said, well, I don't know anything about it. You'll have to run it. I said, well, I can run it, I think. So we got into clothing business.
What was the name of the clothing store?
Coley and Bruns menswear.
These would be great.
Two brothers.
That's great. That's part of history. What you're doing is you're telling you.
So anyway,
Macy's.
I was hoping for Macy's. That would have been yeah.
I run that clothing store for 25 years. That was the last 25 years I worked.
Oh, okay.
I was 55 years old. It's time to retire.
Of course.
My wife and I talked about it. I said, we're going to save our money. We're going to invest it. And when you get, I'm going to quit when I'm 55.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to travel any place we want to go and do whatever we want to do. So when I was 56 in January the 24th, and I sold a business on January the 1st. So I didn't quite make it at 55.
Oh,
well, I did.
Yeah,
I was
jeez.
actually 55 when I sold it.
Yeah,
But I was 56 the 24th of the month.
but you had a goal, though. I mean,
But
that's
anyway,
very
her and I,
impressive.
then we saw every state in the union.
And this was with Doris.
Yeah.
Doris
We
is
saw
right.
all 48 states here, and then we went to Hawaii. And I had an old 82 Chevrolet Celebrity that I'd bought new.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about buying a new car. But I said, yeah, but if we buy a new car, that'll be money we will can't spend on trips. What do you want to do? Take the trips or buy a new car? Well, let's take the trips. So we just kept driving the old car. I had 250,000 miles on it.
Wow.
And her and I decided that we was going to go to Alaska. So we took off and drove 11,000 miles through Alaska. And then we come back from Alaska into Bellingham, Washington. I said, well, I guess we're headed home. She said, you know what I'd like to do? And I said, no, what would you like to do, Doris? I'd like to go to Las Vegas and spend a few days down there before we go home. I said, boy, we got to go across Utah and all them deserts. And I said, it's going to be hot, and this old Chevy's going to be pumping, that air conditioner. I don't know whether it'll make it or not, but if you want to go, we'll try her. So we went, never had any trouble, got into Las
That was
Vegas.
after you took the Alaska trip, right?
Yeah.
You
Well,
went-
we
that
were
was a
coming
trip.
back from Alaska.
That was a trip to tell about, the Alaska trip.
Oh, she wants me.
Yeah, tell them.
While I was in Alaska, we never had any reservations of any kind. And it was a night.
Talk about the night you decided to go.
Oh, that was another time.
Oh, was it?
Well,
1992 was the 50th anniversary of the Alaskan Highway. It was built in 42.
okay.
So 1992, we decided to go while they was celebrating the
Okay.
50-year celebration of the highway, Alcan Highway.
Okay.
So we never had any reservations. I think we just took off. And sometimes we stayed in old army barracks and stuff like that along the highways.
Really?
Yeah, and most of the towns were about 100 people. Sometimes you'd have 150 or so.
Mm-hmm.
But we always had a place to stay. Never had to sleep in the car. One night, it never got dark.
You packed up with beer and beans, remember?
We would.
Beer.
I had a whole bunch of canned goods we took with us so we could have something to eat, just camp out like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I took a bunch of beer.
Of course.
I had
Tomatoes.
about 11 or 12 cases of beer. I put it in the bottom floor of the car, and then covered it with clothes and stuff and piled it up. So when I got to the border, Canadian border, he said, you got any guns? I said, no, I don't believe in guns. Don't own one. Okay, good. Got any liquor with you? And I said, I got some beer in the trunk in my cooler. Let's take a look. So he raised the trunk lid, and I opened the cooler. I had about a half a case sitting here and some beer in the cooler. He looked and said, okay. He didn't ask me if I had it in the car. I said I had some in the cooler,
Yeah.
and I did have. So he waved us on through.
Oh my goodness.
So we're driving up there, and I don't know how long we'd been going, but we stayed up there for at least 30 days. So one night we're driving, or one morning, I'm not sure which it was, because like I say, it never got dark. Anyway, they had a lot of places didn't have electricity up there, but they had diesel engines running to produce electricity.
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming over this mountain, like it's curving around. I could smell diesel. I said, hey, we're coming into a town someplace. I can smell diesel. So sure enough, we come down off the hill. It wasn't a town. It was just a little filling station with 2 pumps, and that's all. And I had about a half a tank, but I pulled in there and filled up every chance I got. I
Oh,
could.
yeah.
He kept it full all the time.
Yeah.
So anyway, as I was getting the tanks was out here, and back here they was placed like this
Okay.
with about 3 trailers
Mm-hmm.
in an angle like this, house trailers. And I said, "What's that back there?" He said, "Oh, that's where the highway workers work in the spring. When they work on a highway, we get so much cold freezing and thawing that in the spring they have to go through and redo the highways because it buckles them up in the wintertime."
Okay.
I said, "Well, I noticed looks like some activities. Oh, there's a couple girls that are cleaning that up. They're going to use it for a hotel because of the dedication of the highway." I said, "Are they there now?" And he said, "Yeah." So I paid him for my gas, and I said, "Mind if I go up there?" He said, "No, go ahead." So I went up there and knocked on the door. One of them come to the door, and I could smell hamburgers cooking, you know. I said, "You open for business yet?" And she said, "Oh, no, we're just in here cleaning up. We probably got another week before we'll open." I said, "Boy, it smells like hamburgers in there. You got any extra hamburger?" "I got some extra cold beer." "Oh, my God, you got beer?" And I said, "Yep."
Oh my.
We haven't had a beer since we've been up here. We've been here for about 4 weeks getting this place ready. We love to have a beer. You go get the beer, we'll cook you hamburger. So they put another hamburger on for the last night.
wow.
I went out and got a 6-pack, brought it in. We sat there and had beer with them and talked for a little bit and had our hamburgers. And I said, "Have you got any rooms ready yet?" And she said, "No, we don't have it." Another girl said, "Well, we got that one back we finished." And she said, "Yeah, but how do you get back there?" I said, "Well, how'd you get back there?" "Well, we walked across a bunch of mattresses." I said, "I can do that." So I said, "Let's go look at her." So we went back there to a nice room, but you had to climb over a bunch of stuff to get back there.
Nice room though.
But we stayed all night.
Yeah.
Next morning, got up, and I said, "You going to have breakfast in the morning?" to the girls. They said, "Oh, yeah, we'll have breakfast." I said, "I'll tell you what you do. If you cook a little extra breakfast, I got some more beer in the car. I'll leave another 6-pack with you guys." "Okay," she
Gold.
said. So
Yeah.
we got up next morning, had breakfast with them, and I brought them another 6-pack of beer and
Wow.
left it with them. They just had a good time. And we done that all the way up. But different things like that happen all the way.
Oh, that sounds
What
great.
about when you went to the fair?
Well, one time we was sitting in there in the front room watching TV, and they was showing the World's Fair at Vancouver. And I said, "You know, Doris, we always been wanting to go to Canada. We haven't been up there yet. We've been all the states now. We've been to Hawaii, been to Alaska." I said, "We ought to go up to the World's Fair." She said, "Well, I'm ready." I said, "Well, go pack the suitcase. Let's head out in the morning." We headed for the World's Fair. No reservations
Oh,
any
no.
place, and the people around here was going had reservations a year ahead.
Oh,
She said, "Where are we going to stay when we get there?" I said, "Oh, we'll worry about that when we get there." So we took off. We drove, stopped along the way, different nights and things. Finally got in there at the World's Fair. We got in there in the morning, actually. So we just went on to the World's Fair, got our tickets, and was going around doing everything at the fair. And about 3 in the afternoon, she said, "Don't you think we ought to look for room for tonight?" I said, "Yeah, I guess we ought to." So we went back uptown. We looked around. They said, "Oh, no, we've been filled up for over a year." So finally I saw this Best Western hotel, and they always pretty nice people usually. So I went in there and I asked them, "No, we don't have any rooms." And I talked to the guys behind the counter there, and I said, "You guys don't sound like you're from up here. Where you from?" Said, "Well, we're from Illinois." I said, "Ooh, I think I might have something you guys would like." So I brought a bunch of tomatoes. I had a cooler filled with tomatoes.
oh wow.
And I went out in the car and I got 3 or 4 big, nice tomatoes, about like them sitting in the window there.
Yeah, yeah.
And they grabbed the knife and started slicing those things, and they was eating those and just, oh, I just couldn't, just went on over them tomatoes, and finally one of the guys said, hey, he said, that guy that built those condos, I heard he was renting some of those. You suppose he'd have any? He said, I don't know, give him a call. So they called up this guy uptown. Guy said, I got one left. If you get him up here right away, I got a woman going out that way, take him right to it. We went downtown right there, got in the office, signed up, got this condo for $75 a night, and everything was renting at the hotels for anywhere between $150, $200 a
Wow.
night. $75 a night. And that was Canadian money.
But which World's Fair was this? Where was it at?
I don't remember what year it was.
Okay, what's
It was the World's Fair.
It was Vancouver.
Yeah,
I can look that up.
No, it was the
Vancouver
World's Fair.
World's Fair, Vancouver.
Yeah, Vancouver. It was
Yeah.
held in Vancouver.
That's that.
The
Yeah.
World's Fair was held in Vancouver that year. So anyway, he took us up there and we paid, took us out to the condo. We got there, here's a big metal steel gate. You had to turn a key and the gate opened up. We drove in under there, underneath the condo. Nice place for a car. Got on the elevator and went up to the next floor. Got a great big living room, big as this house.
Wow.
2 bedrooms, a big deck right out over the front, looking right out over the World's Fair.
Oh my God.
Just because he asked.
Just because, yeah, he asked. Yeah.
Just because I went in there and talked to him.
Just
guys.
talk to him.
And I got to talk to him.
tomatoes, and then he talked. Yeah.
That's a tomato story.
That is a tomato story. Yeah, yeah.
And-
Wow.
Oh, you know,
Illinois tomatoes.
nothing tastes
Illinois
like an Illinois tomato.
You know,
I've eaten-
wow, until today,
I've
I didn't know that
tomatoes
was-
in Texas and
Yeah.
every place else.
I'm an Ohio boy, so
Every
yeah.
time you eat a tomato, you'll think
Well,
of it.
Ohio
Right now,
might be
now,
as good as Illinois. I don't know.
Midwest, yeah, that's
But
okay.
I
From
know.
Ohio?
Yeah, I'm from
I
Ohio.
lived in Columbus for a long time.
I lived in Cincinnati for 55 years.
Oh my.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
husband
so-
was stationed in Columbus. And
Is that right?
Yeah.
Buckeye. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, Columbus lived in Ohio, didn't he?
Yes, right.
yeah. Columbus discovered
And-
Ohio,
and
didn't he?
Lester, tell us about Doris. How long were you married?
We were married
But-
49 years.
Okay,
We were married when I was 18, she was 19.
okay.
My mother had to sign for us so I could get married.
Really?
And we got married. You couldn't get married in the church because she was Catholic and I didn't join the church, so I couldn't get married in the church. We got married in a rectory.
Okay.
And they just had my sister and her husband was that's only, no, see, my sister and her brother.
Your sister Doris.
Daryl.
sister
was,
Doris?
Daryl and my sister Elaine stood up.
Elaine.
with
Elaine,
us.
okay. What year do you remember what year you got?
1947.
1947.
October the 26th, 1947. My mother's birthday, so I didn't
Oh, I was
forget
gonna
my
say.
anniversary, see?
You seemed awfully proud of that. Yeah,
I
yeah.
was thinking,
Yeah.
But you
Wow.
had a question when I cut in there.
Well, no, actually, I'm all for visual things about history, but the car that you were driving all these miles on, and you carry the beer, and what kind of car was that? Do you remember?
82 Chevrolet Celebrity.
There you go. Thank you.
I drove a 280 or 90 miles, 1,000 miles,
Jeez.
and I was going to get a new car, and my granddaughter said, "Grandpa, I want that car." And I said, "Well, you can have it. It ain't worth anything. It won't give me anything for it. You can have it." So she drove it to 310,000. So she put another 10 or 15,000 on it, and then she traded it for a little Kia. And the Kia run about 6 months, and it was sitting in the driveway, broke down. And
Oh,
she said,
my.
I still see that car going uptown. She said, somebody bought it in town, they still driving
Is
it.
that
I
right?
should have kept it, she said.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And Doris died when? What year did Doris die?
She died in 1997, in February the 7th, 1997.
Okay.
And tell us also, how did you meet Mary?
Then Mary and Doris and I square danced.
Okay.
And we went all over square dance. I square danced in Alaska. What is it?
Did you really?
One of the big towns.
Juneau?
No.
Anchorage?
No, not Anchorage. Right straight west. I guess it would be.
Juneau? You said Juneau.
Juneau. Anchorage.
No,
There's another.
Fairbanks. Fairbanks?
Fairbanks.
Fairbanks, okay.
Where the college is.
Okay.
We stayed there, and we went up north of Fairbanks and stayed at a bed and breakfast on a farm
Yeah.
while we were up there.
Wow.
And I got to meet the guy that owned the farm. He was working in Prudhoe up north, and he flew home that weekend while we were there. And he said, "I'm going out to the homestead."
Mhm.
His father had a homestead there. That's how they happened to be up there. He's going out to the homestead. And I said, "Would you mind if I'd go along with you?" He said, "Well, no, if you'd like to go." I said, "I'd love to go." So I went and got in the trunk of my car, and I had my old Carhartts, and I pulled my Carhartts on, put my heavy jacket on, pulled my work boots on. And he said, "By God, you come prepared." He said, "I like that." And so we went, and we were gone all day after that. He showed me all around, and they had a house built up there and the guy was living in it. And it was up on stilts about 10 or 15, 20 feet off the ground, and underneath they piled all their wood. Then they had a trap door in the floor to come down and get the wood in the wintertime because snow was piled to the roof.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I asked him while I was there, we was driving, and I noticed these big, tall, skinny poles along the road. Boy, way up there in the air, but there's nothing on them, no wires or anything. Well, they got them poles up there. There's no reason to have them up there. There's nothing on them. So I asked the guy, and he said, "Oh, those are markers for the snow plows, so they can
Oh,
tell
I've
where the
seen
road
those
is."
before.
Wow.
Yeah.
I said, "Well, how much snow do you get up here?" He said, "Well, we average 55 feet." But he said last year was a little bad year. He said we had 60 last year.
Jeez.
Wow.
And then he showed me pictures of the houses. The snow was up to the gutters. And I said, "Well, how do you get out of the house?" He said, "We tunnel out to the main road. They have a snowplow that blows it back, you know. They big snowplows come every day and keep blowing it off the road so we can get downtown."
So you have to
So
tunnel
they
out.
tunnel out to the road,
Wow.
and then they go
Sounds so
down
simple.
down to the coffee shops and have their donuts and coffee in the
Oh,
morning.
wow.
He said,
Yeah.
"That's the only thing they do."
That's all.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we mentioned,
Huh?
where did you,
How did you meet Mary? Yeah.
square
Yeah, always
dancing?
gonna. Yeah, I square danced. My wife and I square danced. And
Okay.
her husband square danced with her.
I see.
He had a heart attack about 5 years before he died, and so he had to quit. He quit dancing.
Okay.
So I never met her dancing because she was dancing. We were dancing after she quit.
I see. Oh, okay.
So anyway, then whenever her husband died in '96, my wife died in '97. Well, her son lives next door to me. He lived there. I knew him well.
Oh, okay.
He married a friend of theirs. I mean,
So when
Oh,
the
okay.
girl that stayed here tried to be with him.
so when his
Oh.
father died, I didn't know her or her husband,
Mm-hmm.
but out of respect for him, I went to the funeral.
Oh, okay.
He went to the
And
funeral home. I mean, came to the
So
station.
she said she don't remember seeing me, and I don't remember seeing her there. But
Oh, I do. I remember you.
did you see
Oh
me
my
there?
gosh,
Yeah.
yes.
Anyway,
I shook hands with you. I can
How could you forget that? Yeah.
in '97, then my wife died, and so then I went back to Square Dance because they was kind of like a family for me. That's
That's
the
a
first place
social
I wanted
life.
to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back, even if I didn't dance, just be around with them because
Yeah,
they're just
good
like
idea.
my family.
Yeah.
Well, the girl next door, Pam, she practically lived with us when she was going to school because her mother slept late in the morning and she wouldn't get her up to go to school, so a lot of times she'd miss school. So she'd come over here to stay with us with my daughter.
Okay.
So then they knew we'd get them to school. So anyway, she's the one that said something I guess she said something to Mary about me square dancing.
No, I asked her.
She said, "You ought to
Oh.
go back to square dancing."
Oh, I see.
And so Mary said, well, she didn't have anything to do. So anyway, she finally decided she'd go back square dancing. So she'd been off of it long enough. She thought she'd have to take lessons again. So she was taking lessons. And she asked, or Pam asked you, or something.
I asked Pam if she would.
You asked Pam something about, would she say something to me about coming and helping her through lessons? And I said, well, I told Pam, I said, I can't help her through lesson because that night I got Rotary on that night, and I don't go to dancing on that night. That's on Tuesday night. But I said, if she, as soon as she gets through lessons and she's coming back, she'll be at the dances, and somebody will introduce me to her. I'll dance with her. Yeah, I got nobody to dance with. So we started dancing at square dances, and
There you go.
so when we would go south, she'd pick me up, and when we'd go north, I'd pick her up. She lived in Awanako. So then we'd have to go home after the dances. So I said to her one day, I said, you know, you got a house here you're making payments on, and you'll never get it paid for because you got a long road and you'll never live long enough to pay for it.
I
And
built a new house.
Oh, did
after
you?
my
she
husband
built a
passed
new
away.
house
Okay,
after her husband
okay,
died.
okay.
So I said, I got mine paid for, and we can live in it. And I said, if you'd want to come down and move in with me, and we'll get married, and you come down and stay with me. So then we got talking. She said, well, I can't get married. And I said, why not? She said, well, I'm a miner's widow. They take care of all my insurance, everything.
Oh,
Eyes,
okay.
hearing aid.
Right.
Dentures.
She don't, medicine, they pay for everything. She don't pay for anything.
Really?
I
But I
said,
would
oh
lose
my
it if I
God,
did.
I
Exactly,
would take
that's-
that away from me because, so I said, well, that's out, and unless you just want to come and live with me. She said, well, I'll think about it. So, I don't know, a week or so went by, and
That
she
was quite a
said,
thinking.
Yeah, that's
she
an
talked to her
important
kids
decision.
and stuff, and.
Didn't they make a movie, The Miner's Daughter?
We do
Yeah,
it, Mom,
I'm the
so I don't
coal
see a
miner's
reason why
daughter.
you
Coal
shouldn't.
miner's
So
daughter.
she moved in with me. We've been
Wow.
living for 13, 14 years.
Since
Very,
03.
very
03,
smart.
so we've been living 14 years together.
Well,
What a
they said
story.
we're living in sin, but he doesn't.
You know what I told them? When they said we live in a sin, I said, my sinner's been broke a long time.
Oh, yeah, but that's it.
So anyway,
yeah,
I asked
living,
the
living in
priest, I
happiness
said,
is what you're living in. Yeah.
You know, Mary's going to come and live with me. And I said, can I still go to church and communion? He said, if you stay celibate. I said, well, I have no choice. I said, I wish I could, but I can't. I said, that's
That sounds
over.
like my uncle.
He said, well, fine, then
Lonely life by yourself.
there's no reason why you can't stay together.
That is
We'll still
wonderful.
come to church and everything, so I have all the time.
Tell us about your
Great story.
children, Lester.
Great story.
My
And
children,
where they live, yeah.
I have a daughter, 65-year-old daughter,
Marsha,
and a 61-year-old son,
David.
lives in Colorado.
David.
David.
Okay.
And she was born she was born before I went to service. I was in training here in the States and she was born, but she was just a baby when I went overseas. And but we were really close, my daughter. I drove buses, like I said, in ice capades, ball games. She'd go with me all the time.
Oh, neat.
But I asked my son, oh, you want to go with me today? Well, if you make me go, I'll go, but I don't really care to go. I said, well, if you don't care to go, don't go. Okay? So now he says, you should have made me go. I said, I should have made you go. Why? Well, I would have went if you'd have made me go, and I would have been maybe a different person and all blah, blah. He's a real invert.
Yeah. Yeah.
He don't
Brilliant.
have any
Brilliant.
friends.
Oh, so he didn't
don't-
socialize enough
He
to
just works and that's all. He doesn't belong
Yeah.
to anything.
Really?
I belong to Chamber of Commerce. I was president of Chamber of Commerce once. I was secretary 3 times. I belonged to Rotary Club for 57 years, Rotary International.
Never missed a meeting.
I've been president 4 times. I'm president now.
Are you?
I belonged to VFW for 5 years, and I was commander of the VFW and also adjutant for 2 years. I belong to the United Commercial Travelers, if you've ever heard of it.
I've never heard of that.
It's a service organization
Okay.
that,
For drivers or?
and it's kind of like Shriners, like in a way,
Okay.
a little
Makes
different.
sense.
But I've belonged to that for 55 years.
Wow.
I belonged to Mason for 55 years. I'm a paid-up life member. I belong to the Legion, and I'm a paid-up life member there. That's 40 years at least. I belonged to the Shrine for 40 years. And consistory.
Square Dance Club. Forgot the Square Dance Club.
Oh, I belong to Square Dance Club. I belong to Old Model A Club.
Oh, okay.
He's got
Wow.
Lincoln Land Model A Club.
Is that right?
Belong to
You
that.
own an, you,
You should show
It's in
your
the garage.
car.
I got a
That's it.
29 Model A. I'll show you.
oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Lester,
Well-
tell him about Michael, your nephew.
My nephew worked for me in the clothing store.
Yeah.
In fact, he stayed pretty much around me all of his life when he was growing up and going to college.
Michael Coley.
And he looks
Okay.
more like me than he did my brother.
Okay.
And I got accused of stepping in there maybe once in a while, but I didn't.
Set the
Anyway.
record straight.
Anyway, he's just like my son.
Okay.
Tell him about the clothing store, how you trained him.
Yeah, he come in the clothing store, worked for me going to high school and through college,
Wow.
and I could just leave it with him, and he could take he went back to college. He's a CPA, and he's a controller for the
Uniform company.
what is it? Anyway, in Greenville, Illinois,
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
huge.
Is it?
there's a uniform company.
Oh, okay.
He's controller, was of that for a long
Wow.
time. Anyway, he was working for Arthur Anderson first,
Okay.
but he wanted to get married and he wanted to have a family and he didn't want to be on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So he told the company that he'd like to leave and be a stationary place. So they said, we'll watch for you. If we can find a nice place for you, we'll let you know. So they went to Greenville doing audit work down at Greenville for this old man. And he really he took a liking to Mike while he was there doing the auditing. And I guess he must have said something to Mike's boss about that young man that's doing the auditing. He said, is there any chance that a guy could hire him? And they said, yes, he's looking for somebody to hire him. He said he wants to leave because he wants to get married and have a family. He don't want to be on the road. So he has been looking for a place. I'd like to interview him. So he interviewed him, hired Mike on the spot.
Wow.
He was controller there for I don't know how many years, but he later on became a member. He bought stock in the company, became owner. He was 1/3 owner of the company.
Wow.
Over the years.
Mm-hmm.
They eventually sold the business to some conglomerate out of Chicago or up in there, and he got out of his share. He got several million out of his share.
Oh my.
So he became wealthy. Really,
Where is
I
he?
call it wealthy.
Where is he now? Where does he live?
He's in Greenville.
He's
He
in
has a
Greenville.
home in Greenville
I
on the
see.
lake.
Okay.
He has a condo down in Florida. He goes to
Wow.
Florida in the wintertime.
Nice.
He comes back here in the summertime. He's on the board of directors at the bank in Hillsboro. And I was on the board of directors here at the bank for 41 years, the Nokomis Savings Bank. I also had stock in the Nokomis Bank, First National Bank. So,
I love the story about he's in high school and Lester would take him to St. Louis to buy clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And Lester would have
Oh, yeah.
3,000. Tell that story.
I was buying shirts with the Truval Shirt Company, and I always bought from Arrow Shirt Company too. So I said, Mike, I don't want to buy over $3,000 worth of shirts from Truval because I want to save some of my budget for Arrow when Arrow would meet with them. So I said, you watch, and when we get about $3,000, you let me know, okay? I said, okay. So this salesman showed us shirts. He's writing it down. So about after we bought for a while, Mike said, well, you just went over the $3,000 mark. See, $3,010.
He did this without writing anything down.
Yeah,
Oh,
he did
my
this
God.
all just sitting there watching.
Wow.
He said, you went over the mark, $3,010. And now sales said, oh, no, we ain't even close to $3,000 yet. Mike said, well, figure it out. So he went back, went through, brought everything over, so many of this, does of this. Brought him out here and got his calculator and added it all up, $3,010.
Wow, it's impressive.
He said, "My God, how do you do that?" But he goes to the grocery store with his wife, and she buys the groceries and puts them in a cart.
Yeah.
And he pushes the cart.
Yeah.
Don't have any pencil or paper or anything.
Yep.
They get up to the counter. He writes a check for the groceries.
Oh my.
He tears it out and has it in his hand. And when they tell him what it is, he just hands it to them.
That's incredible.
And they say, "How'd you know what it's going to be?" He said, "Well, I kept track of it when we was going through, and I added the tax on." And
Wow.
Wow.
he's a
Incredible.
whiz at figures.
Exactly.
It's absolutely amazing.
Sounds like you've got quite a business sense that you're well, Let me ask you just a couple more questions. This is fantastic, by the way, but a couple more questions. How did you learn? You were 13 when you started out your business life. How do you, attest to your how you learned? Who taught you business? Who was did you learn everything yourself? Just hard work and discipline?
I said, "There wasn't nothing I could do, because if you work hard and save your money, you'll be all right."
Right. Well,
They used to come to me and, "Well, how do you do this? How do you do this?" So I said, "First, you don't buy anything that you don't need.
right.
You don't sit down there and drink beer at the bowling alley or something
That's
when you owe somebody. You pay them first, and then if you got anything left to buy a beer, you can go have a beer. But you pay your bills, and when the end of the month comes or whenever you get your pay,
right.
10% belongs to you. You put that somewhere in investment.
Right.
That's the first
Wow.
10% you take out. You owe that to yourself.
Right.
You got to do it. And that's the way I did.
And you learned that yourself. That's no taught
Well, I
you.
went to high school.
Exactly.
I took business training and
Yeah.
typing and bookkeeping.
Well,
and
some very important skills.
and-
Typing.
and I knew nothing when
Right.
I lived on that little farm, like I say, with just nothing there. Just one year, I'll tell you what I did. We had 2 old mules, and I was probably 12 years old. And I told my dad, "I'm going to put that 10 acres in corn." Never did farm before, just left it there.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the old walking plow out, and I plowed that whole 10 acres with walking plow and 2 mules. And I planted corn in there. And it probably made 15 or 20 bushel an acre. I had to cut sassafras sprouts off of that ground and pile them up,
Yeah.
because it was all over. While the rest of the mules, I'd cut sassafras sprouts. At 12 years old. Yeah, I had a work ethic. My mother,
Right.
she believed in hard work. My dad was an alcoholic. He was a heck of a worker when he worked.
Mm-hmm. Where were they from?
He was from here.
Here?
She
Okay.
was from Vandalia.
Okay. Okay.
He met her, he running around. And
So, what other advice do you have for kids today?
Well,
you've already hard work is
the
one
best,
for sure.
best that I can
Save
say
money.
is
Yeah.
you got to work. And I don't mean just work 8 hours a day.
Right.
If it takes 16 or 20 hours, you work that much.
Right.
And what's left, you sleep. And if it's 4 hours you got left, you sleep 4 hours a night. If it's 6 hours, you got 6 hours. But there's no rule that says you have to sleep 8 hours.
Yeah, boy, it seems like that nowadays.
What about your brother and you?
And you got to save. You got to save that 10% for you first. That comes out first.
Mhm.
That's just like you owe somebody.
Right. That's a great piece of advice.
And
Great
then-
piece of advice.
You pay all your bills first
Yep.
before you use any money for entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no money left, you don't get any entertainment, or
Right.
you get another job
Right.
so you can have some more money.
That's a great.
That's the whole hard work. If you work hard and do like I said, you'll be a success.
Mary, what was your question, Mary, about his brother?
I was going to say about you and your brother when you went out and did that field and it rained and you had.
Oh, at one time we baled hay. We had a case hay baler, him and I, and we went out and baled hay in the daytime. When we get back, we'd work in a restaurant till midnight. We were out baling hay one day, And Gene Kittlecamp was the last one on our list to bail that day. And we were supposed to be there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he had everybody there to bale hay. Well, he wasn't there when we got there. We got there late. It was about 4 or 5 o'clock before we got there that evening. But it was still dry. And I got off the hay baler, and I told Murray and my brother, I said, you know, that back swath is dry. If we let that set all night in the morning, it's going to be damp, and we won't get that to run through the hay baler. I said, why don't we bale that back swath before we go in? He said, okay. So we baled the back swath. Boy, it was going through great. I said, I'm going to put some of that galvanized wire in because I can see that in the dark. I said, let's just keep baling as long as it's dry. We baled till about, it must have been 7 or 8 o'clock that night. We got that 20 acres baled, dropped it on the ground. We went in, cleaned up, went and rested it. And we was in there working, and Gene had went to the show that night. They used to have 2 shows, one early show and a late show. He went to the late show at 9 o'clock. So about 11 o'clock, they all come and arrested for milkshakes, hamburgers, and food and stuff. We're serving them. And he said, what happened to you guys today? I said, what do you mean what happened to us? Well, you were supposed to bail our hay today. I said, it's bailed. Well, you wasn't even there. I didn't leave home until 5 o'clock. You wasn't there then. I said, well, you wait till you get up in the morning. You take a look. He thought I was just pulling his leg.
Yeah.
Next morning, on Sunday morning, he gets up. He's got a big deck on top of it. He sleeps upstairs. He's got a deck up there, and he walks out, and it looks right out over this 20 acres that we baled hay in. So he gets up the next morning, and he's there. And looks out. There's that bale hay all laying on the ground, all of it. I wasn't lying to him.
Wow. That's.
After you baled the hay, you came.
So he called me on the telephone right away on Sunday morning. He called me up. What am I going to do with all this hay on the ground? I said, well, what? Put it up in the barn. He said, I don't have anybody now. I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said, I'll get my dad and my brother, and the 3 of us will come out there. We'll put it in the barn for you. So we went out there, got tractor, the baler, the hay frame, and how I could pile and bale 6 high, just throw them up 6 high.
That's horrible.
They 90 pound, 85.
Yeah. I've done
We
hay
put the
before.
last bale in the barn about 12:30 that day, and it just started raining as we put the last bale in.
Oh, wow.
Oh, was he tickled.
That is a nice thing to do. Yeah.
And then we went back to town, and I had to scrub the floor on the rest. And Sunday was the day I always cleaned up the floor and waxed the floors and done my cleaning on Sundays so we could open up on Monday.
One last story.
We did stay open
Yeah,
Sundays till for about 15 years, but
You
then
did
it
open?
finally
You were?
closed on
Okay.
Sunday.
Mary was an incredible man from what I know of Lester, speaking of him.
Yeah.
And it goes back to when they were driving cabs. So Lester had picked up a client
Okay.
at a bar over in Whitmaybe and drove to Nokomis and pulled up in front of the restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you gotta tell
And
that.
Mary's working and his mother's working.
Murray, he's talking about my
No,
brother,
it's
not
Not
Mary.
Mary, but Murray. His
Murray, okay.
His brother.
Murray.
Okay.
Okay.
Want me to finish
Yeah,
it?
you tell the story.
and-
Yeah, you tell the story.
Okay.
And
Anyway.
who was Murray though? Let's make sure I get
Murray
that.
was my brother. We
Your
were
brother.
together all the
So
time.
your brother's your partner in crime, if you partner in
Partners
business.
and brothers.
Wonderful.
We were,
okay.
and when he was in the service, he sent me money when I was going to high
Your
school.
mother was a pie baker.
Yeah,
There you
and
go.
he could bake the best pie.
What about
in
your
the world.
mother?
Mother was
My mother. He learned
Mother
from
was a
my
pie
mother.
baker. Okay. All right.
Anyway, I'm driving the taxi. I picked up this guy at Winona, brought him in, we didn't have no radios in, but they run out and give me a handful of orders to have pick up people. I stuck them on the thing, spindle. And Vern said, I'm not getting out. I said, you getting out? This is where you get out, Vern. You're in town. I ain't getting out. I said, why? And he said, well, why don't you go get your big brother to get me out? I said, okay, if that's what you want. So I went in and arrested. Murray was in the kitchen. I said, Murray, Vern Cole's in the car, in the taxi, and he won't get out. I'll get that son of a bitch out there, he said. And he was about 6'2", and he weighed about 195 pounds, muscle, hard as this table. He went out there and he just reached through the window and grabbed him by the throat and pulled him right through the window, threw him up on top of the car, and he bounced off on the other side.
Oh,
And this guy was a fighter. He was always looking for
he was
fights.
looking for a
That's what he
fight.
was looking
Okay.
for. That he didn't even look back. He just got brushed his pants off and walked down the street.
Problem
He
solved.
never looked back.
Wow.
We laughed about that. Vern, the big man, you know.
Yeah.
I said, jerked him through that window, threw him up on top of the car, and he bounced off onto the other side.
You
And I had to
do that.
push the
Yeah, that is a
the
wonderful
end of the
story.
car, top of the car, and I had to push popped her back out, you know.
I'll leave it up to you,
Well, Lester,
Michael.
these are tremendous. This is great. Thank you so much for these stories. Do you have any pictures that we could share? I mean, you've mentioned businesses, your cars,
I don't have any
you don't have any pictures of
I have-
yourself when you were younger?
No.
Other than that nice picture that
That's-
Mary showed?
She's got that one.
I
That she,
saw a picture of you.
I had an album with some old pictures in
Uh-huh.
it when I had a horse and stuff
Yeah.
when I was out in the country, but I misplaced it someplace,
my.
and my
Where's
daughter
that
went
picture
up
you
there.
endorse?
Huh?
Did you have a picture of you endorsed?
Oh, I got some
in a
pictures that we
uniform?
took
I'll
over
get you
when we
some.
went
Could
to
you-
Australia.
Yeah, 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
If you have any
We'll
pictures,
get them.
or your
When I
bid-
went to
or your business,
Australia, I got
picture of-
pictures when we was in Australia.
picture of your
Lester-
store, picture of,
No,
do you have any
not no
pictures?
pictures.
Lester, I'll
Don't
get
worry about
those,
it.
and then
Thank
I'll
you.
take them. I see Mike all the time.
We see each other
We'll
every
get
week.
the pictures you wanted, but
Later. Huh?
later.
Yes.
Not today.
Not today.
I thank you so much, though, Lester. This
Yeah,
is
I'm
a
gonna take you out and show you my car.
we got to see that. I'm gonna take it.